Namaste. So, even from the shlokas that we chant to bring to us peace at the beginning of each of our meetings, we see that they focus a great deal on the oneness of being, on our common pursuit of truth, of light, and finally on light itself. What is the nature of light? How can we be led to immortality, to light? The whole quest is before us in the cosmic scheme. It's not simply our own pursuit of our aims, an individual's right to grow as much as possible within the scope of his being, given the resources that he has access to or she has access to. But it is a cosmic question as well. A quest. A quest. So, this chapter that we wanted to look at this evening, specifically the 13th chapter in Book 2 of the Life Divine, the exclusive concentration of consciousness, force, and the ignorance. We're still dealing with the ignorance, but within a framework where we want to understand why it is that the divine has compressed itself and in a sense lost, at least in part of its being, and at least for some portion of the duration of time, knowledge, self-knowledge of what its own essential nature is. Well, and what is our role in that? To recover for the universe its sense of self, largely written. So Sri Aurobindo starts that chapter with a citation of a single verse from the Rig Veda. It's from the 10th mandala, which is again not the oldest mandala. And it's hymn 190. He translates only one verse here. And this is a verse that is describing the nature of the creative power, of the force of concentration, of tapas, again, that brings things into being. He translates it this way. From the kindled fire of energy of consciousness, truth, satyam, was born, and the law of truth, ritam. From that, the night, ratri, and from the night, the flowing ocean of being, samudra. This is interesting in other ways too, because later we find in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad that the creation of the cosmos, the bringing forth of the elements of existence, proceed in the same way. From light to darkness and then into the ocean of existence, as if this ocean arises from the darkness or from the interplay of light and dark. So this is one of the early poems, one of the insights that the rishis have captured, passed down from wisdom tradition to renewing wisdom tradition, to suggest what is at issue in the start of all this cosmic drama. So, from this flowing ocean of being, or this undulating sea, there are two more verses, just 3 verses in the whole hymn, that say like this: from the undulating sea, from the flowing ocean of being, was born the year. We have time. Which distributes the days and nights, the alternations between light and dark, and exerts its will over everyone who blinks. Who does not blink? The divine powers above. So this is a description of what occurs in these regions that we populate. Not just humans, but all mortals. And the third verse brings us back to the idea of the will behind it all. The ordainer, Dhatra, Brahma, arranged according to their proper order, sun and moon, heaven and earth, mid-space and sunlight. So there is conscious entity that has directed this flow from its own essence into manifest being and includes all this world that we can account for. Everything from what is illuminated to everything that is so dark we can't see into it. We can't penetrate it. So this is how he begins this chapter, on the exclusive nature of this power of ignorance as it emerges from the energizing of this one being. It does it willfully, not an accident. Again, we like to come back to that and remind ourselves of this every week. The universe is not a mistake. There's an order that we can't perceive. Yes, it looks disordered right now, especially on the human scale to the human eye. Irrecoverable to some people. And let us remember the light from which it all comes. And I'd like to turn to light again in a notation that the mother made in her prayers and meditations, published as that, almost to this date in 1913. So it's December 13, 1913. Give me thy light, O Lord. Grant that I do not fall into any error. Grant that the infinite reverence, the utter devotion, that intense and profound love I bring to thee may be radiant, convincing, contagious, and be awakened in every heart. O Lord, eternal Master, thou art my light and my peace. Guide my steps, open my eyes, illumine my heart, and lead me on the paths that go straight to thee. O Lord, Lord, grant that I may have no other will than thine, and that all my acts may be an expression of thy divine law. A great light floods my whole being, and I am no longer conscious of anything but thee. Peace, peace, peace upon all the earth. This is 3 months and more before she met Sri Aurobindo for the first time. And what she writes here could be sentences taken out of an Upanishad, taken out of a Vedic context, taken from the Bhagavad Gita. Sri Aurobindo will write later things that sound just like this. So, the principle of light, you can see she was in pursuit of it, in establishing that great light in all the hearts who were open to it, and to try to manifest what that is in all who were willing to step into its experience. And this, a number of years before she was recognized as the mother. So, We begin with that light, with that one, that integral existence, consciousness, force, bliss, a triune reality that even when it manifests, because it is the only thing that exists, must be secretly present in anything at all, whether high, in worlds supramental, in worlds mental, vital, physical. Satchit Ananda is resident. It must be there. And since it is not ignorant, then in its essence, this integer of existence knows its motionless essence, and also its flowing modifications, samudra. And the many, we are some of those, each supported as it grows conscious of its secret reality, comes to be guided by a secret reality, the Jivatman, above, like a guide wire, leading us forward through every mistake, through every success, and certainly through every meaningful failure. We come to learn and know and distribute the refuse to the side and allow it to be recycled in nature, and go forward with every gathered insight and grow from it and become wiser and more loving. And when we're not selfish or seeking only for ourselves, we become more powerful in service to her. So everything partakes of that supreme essence. It is the very nature of existence. So we noted in an earlier chapter, with respect to this idea, this great concept from the Vedanta of Satchit Ananda, existence, consciousness, power, and bliss, that ignorance is not born from the essence of being, but from its force of consciousness. Sri Aurobindo has captured that in his citation from the Rig Veda with which we began. 10:190, verse 1. It is implied, this manifestation, through exerting itself, condensing itself, compressing, really working hard, so hard that it generates fantastic heat. This tapas is implied in the creation, in the manifestation. To use a fancy term, in the cosmogonic movement. The cosmos must be generated. That moment of generation is caused by this tapas, in which this infinite light, this expansive reality, gets reduced into a secret darkness and constricted. Chit Shakti is another way to express it. It is that creative power that produces from tapas all that manifests from this oneness. I know, we've just said that. Let's say it again until we get it. But the manifesting multiplicity, that's us again, here in the moving universe, does not hail in seed from ignorance and division. That begins above. Because multiplicity and oneness are instinctively united. It's here in time and space, in the play of the universe, that they seem to get divided. And it's a later movement in world creation. It's something that arises from the darkness. To go back to the Veda, this thought that first light in the east, darkness in the west, and then samudra, this flowing ocean of being, all those ripples create a kind of multiplying effect in which the one becomes the many, but each manyness contains the one inside it, so nothing is really absent. But if you're in the many and you forget your place in the one, can't experience it anymore, you think you're the only thing that exists. Ta-da, the ego. The truth behind the ego is the divisibility or the differentiation of that single being. It's not really divided, but it seems to be. So ignorance is that partial action of Chit Shakti that intends and authors a constricting movement. Why does it do this? Why would the divine force from its own self, single self, what seems to be a many separated from that self? Well, because the division only seems entire. It's an appearance. And again, much of physical experience simply maps out the distinctions within the one, but they seem real to those who are distinguished, yeah? But souls returning to their original positions within themselves can identify with other souls in perfect wakefulness, which both incorporates and exceeds these distinctions. You can be fully yourself when you shake yourself off from ignorance. You can lean into the essence of another, and you can identify with a group consciousness as well. So that last signifies an expansion towards cosmic awareness. So again, it is summing up of all the positions possible to a consciousness that seems to involve itself in darkness. So the ignorance then is here to deliberately exclude the whole, W-H-O-L-E, so that we can, as seedlings here, focus on a particularizing aim. That exclusive concentration, tapas, pointedly traces what Sri Aurobindo would call the cycle of self-oblivion and self-discovery in the search of joy. So we take on the self-oblivion so that we forget who we are. Suddenly, we don't remember anymore because we start from utter blackness. It's, shall I say how much later it is that we finally begin to recur? Return to our full awareness, this adventure of consciousness and joy that Sri Aurobindo opens the life, his great epic poem Savitri with. Without this swoon away from full consciousness, without this, in a sense, descent, we might be multiple, but we would only enjoy the higher planes of existence, Sat, and we would inhabit a non-evolving universe. So that without need of search, without effort or toil, everything would be fulfilled at a first glance. And Perhaps it is boring. Perhaps it is quite boring to the Supreme, who says, let me submit myself a real challenge. I'll divide my being. I'll hide at the bottom of creation. And somebody has to come face me and find me there. Are they willing to defeat the dragon of ignorance to be able to win the prize of self-knowledge again? Let us see. And so we have chosen, by dint of the Supreme's choice, a reduction into these inconscient quarters from which we grow. We shared in the Supreme's decision. We're not other than the Supreme. We'd like to blame it all on the divine. Your fault. We suffer. We intended to come here. The gathered darkness, once posited, persists until we have satisfied, by penetrating discovery of self and world, all the nature's secrets. So we'll find some secrets and think, aha, we're almost done. And then we'll discover the more that has to be done. And so it is a much more sophisticated and complex riddle that we're trying to solve than what it appears on the surface. The mind's first assessment of this in philosophy and theology can't quite grasp it. But the poet sees with a cryptic vision expressed in rhyme and rhythm, and leaves that to us to work with. And we work with that and all of its mythic power deep inside ourselves, beyond the reach of the ratiocinative mind. And that quest leads us into corridors where we break through and find the secret of our own being. The first step is to find our soul, to live from it, then to discover the cosmic self around. Usually this is the way. This is the practical way that most follow. Not absolutely exclusive. Some people begin with the larger solution first and then come back to the individual. But the process is eonic. It's multi-leveled. One has to work out this secret again and again at the physical level, at the vital level, at the mental level, and suffuse all with the power and the presence of the discovered psychic. This is not simple. This takes, in a human life, with great effort, probably the whole span, to achieve a rounded summation that you would call a perfection. And we know that the psychic transformation is not perfection, that there are other stages beyond it. But this is where we begin. And as we bring it to conclusion in ourselves, at least get this step done, then we make it more possible for others around us to proceed. So, along the way, we do inside dissolve exclusion. That exclusion, which is the movement of tapas to force away from itself its knowledge of the oneness so that it can concentrate on what it's trying to do in this hidden corner, that has to be dissolved. That exclusion finally has to be left behind. Division along with it. So dropping exclusion and division, we have an inner victory, which is the important one. It is not the conquest of a presumed and perceived opponent on the outside. The enemy is never on the outside. It is in us. It is in us. Sri Aurobindo notes, and I think we mentioned this last week as well, that exclusiveness is the very soul of ignorance. I won't say any more than just this. But he also does not argue for an undiscriminating acceptance of everything as equal. One thing is as good as the next. He sees the need for an actual change and elevation of consciousness into a vision that descries, that sees both the temporary need for these veils while also seeing directly through them. That is the core of compassion for us, to see that essence behind the momentary, behind the veil. See that essence, but also recognize why that veil is there. Perhaps in us, certainly in another. And to have, even while we work hard to remove it, eliminate it, a certain poise of compassion. A wise compassion, as it were. So, as knowledge grows and becomes integrally dynamic, because consciousness and power are cognate in each other, yes, Chit, Shakti, the grip of ignorance eventually begins to lessen. Lessen. Each and every individual waking up spurs the universe forward. It counts, it matters. It brings wakefulness into a moment, into the here and now. There is a moment here when the universe becomes conscious of itself through the awakened individual. So you can see that if these moments are multiplied, if they gather force, if they aggregate, if they harmonize, if they consolidate, and apply energy of will from below, like the tapas that began the universe, then we begin to reverse. We engineer a path upwards and out of ignorance, not simply for us, but for the cosmos as a whole. We win one for the bigger team. We move forward a little more into the light. Cosmic fulfillment is impossible without the individual achievement. As a prelude, we have to do that. The question doesn't even arise if we haven't achieved that ourselves. So, to know the soul, to be one with all vastly, inwardly, and then even cellularly, the cellular knowledge, the liberation, the power ensconced there, coming out in a flood of light, prepares a greater moment beyond the mind's calculation. This is the work that Sri Aurobindo and the mother were on every moment from the founding of the ashram till their departure, even before. Well, darkness, when it is not needed, will be absorbed back into the originating light. We'll have darkness and ignorance psychologically until we've learned our lessons. So an originating ignorance, a cosmic ignorance, an egoistic, temporal, psychological, constitutional, and practical ignorance. These are the 7 steps of the ignorance in which we must, again, win our freedom through a painful process, perhaps, but we must win it to establish a gateway to the unending growth of our consciousness back to the plenary source from which all comes. That's our journey in and through constricting time into the ever-present full truth of an integrated being. Voila, we come home. We don't lose the manyness, all the multiple chapters of the book. We don't come down to one summary page. Everything continues, but on a new harmonic basis. We shall be one again. And we won't have to abolish the beautiful differences to achieve it. So, I think we can turn to Savitri. I know. Book 1, the Book of Beginnings. Canto 4, The Secret Knowledge. And I'm going to start on page 60, towards the bottom. All here, where each thing seems its lonely self, are figures of the soul transcendent one. Only by him they are. His breath is their life. An unseen presence molds the oblivious clay, a playmate in the mighty mother's game. One came upon the dubious whirling globe to hide from her pursuit in force and form. A secret spirit in the inconscient sleep, a shapeless energy, a voiceless word. He was here before the elements could emerge, before there was light of mind or life could breathe. Accomplice of her cosmic huge pretense, his semblances he turns to real shapes and makes the symbol equal with the truth. He gives to his timeless thoughts a form in time. He is the substance, he the self of things. She has forged from him her works of skill and might. She wraps him in the magic of her moods and makes of his myriad truths her countless dreams. The master of being has come down to her, an immortal child born in the fugitive years. In objects wrought, in the persons she conceives, dreaming she chases her idea of him, and catches here a look and there a jest. Ever he repeats in them his ceaseless births. He is the maker and the world he made. He is the vision and he is the seer. He is himself the actor and the act. He is himself the knower and the known. He is himself the dreamer and the dream. There are two who are one and play in many worlds. In knowledge and ignorance they have spoken and met, and light and darkness are their eyes' interchange. Our pleasure and pain are their wrestle and embrace.
Our deeds, our hopes, are intimate to their tale. They are married secretly in our thought and life. The universe is an endless masquerade, for nothing here is utterly what it seems. It is a dream fact, vision of a truth, which, but for the dream, would not be wholly true. A phenomenon stands out significant against dim backgrounds of eternity. We accept its face and pass by all it means. A part is seen. We take it for the whole. Thus have they made their play with us for roles. Author and actor with himself as seen. He moves there as the soul, as nature she.
So, thank you for spending time with us again. We're coming to a kind of crescendo, the return of light, seasonally in just a few days. I'll see you as we sit on that verge together, and I'm wishing you well all the way, and I send my love from here. Well, I send all our love from here. We will give it to you liberally. You can have it all. Much love to you all. Namaste. Jai Ma.